Behind every successful endeavor in life is a relationship built on trust. Welcome to The Trust Doctor, restoring trust and enriching significant relationships. A podcast focused on helping you nurture healthy relationships. Join thought leader and world-renowned expert on relationship and empowerment coaching, Dr. Patty Ann, and her special guests every week for insightful and meaningful conversations filled with great takeaways that will help you build healthier business partnerships and happier romantic relationships. Are you ready to restore trust and enrich the significant relationships in your life? The Trust Doctor, Dr. Patty Ann, is in.
Welcome to today's podcast episode of The Trust Doctor, restoring trust and enriching significant relationships. And remember, I know you're going to love this podcast. So don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And today, do I have a treat for you with our guest. His name is Jayson Lowe, and he's a Canadian from up north who is an incredible man, entrepreneur, speaker, leader, and all-around awesome guy. But rather than hear it from me, buckle up and let's have Jayson take us for a ride. Welcome, Jayson.
Oh, thank you. It's great to be with you. That's a very kind introduction. Sincerely, thank you.
You're absolutely welcome. And I really didn't do you justice. So why don't you give us the Reader's Digest version of everything you've accomplished in your life? Because if you told us everything, we'd be here till tomorrow.
We'd be here till tomorrow next year.
Exactly.
Oh gosh, yeah. Where do I begin?
Well, you've had such an interesting journey. I'll give the listeners a teaser. Sure. There was bankruptcy involved. So I'm sure that got everybody's attention from a guru financial guy.
Oh boy. Well, I'll take you back to when I was a toddler. I was born and raised in Timmins, Ontario, which is a small mining and forestry community. And your listeners might be familiar with Shania Twain, the country music singing sensation.
So I think I'm in love or something.
Yeah. Her real name's Eileen. And so
my daughter's name.
We grew up in Timmins together. And
was she a BFF?
No, not quite. She was a little older than me, but I went to school with her brothers, Mark and Chris. And we used to hang out at her place, and she would be writing her songs, playing her songs on the acoustic guitar. And she sounded just as incredible without any stage performance. Just the raw talent was off the hook amazing. And
all right, come on, give us some dirt though. Come on, maybe something.
There's
fun dirt, fun dirt.
Most people see her as, the elegant, amazing superstar that she is. But she loves more than anybody to just get on a four-wheeler, go mud bogging, be in the forest.
Go what? Wait.
Mud bogging.
Pray tell.
So that's when you're on a four-wheel recreational vehicle and you're just ripping through the mud and just having a great time. Getting soaked. Bugging. Yeah. And she loved being, and still does. She loves the outdoors. She loves being in the forest. And she's just an all around amazing person. And
that's actually great info to know because it makes her more like us.
Yeah. She really is truly down to earth. She would love to go fishing and hang out and chat with you fishing all day than, being on a stage performing in front of 80,000 screaming fans. But growing up in that community was really amazing. But I was a toddler during the early 1980s when inflation skyrocketed and interest rates peaked at 21.5%. And my parents argued about money all the time. And my dad, who was already away from the home a lot working, his solution to the problem was to work more. And so I developed my workaholic addiction from observing my father. He would work 6 days a week and he was gone till late in the evening.
What did he do, Jayson?
He was a regional assessment officer for the federal government. So he had the warm and fuzzy privilege of assessing tax rates on commercial properties. And, people really loved to see him.
I am sure they couldn't wait for him to show up.
And he was a musician in the evening. So he played in a band. He played guitar and he sang, and he played in a band every night of the week with the exception of Sundays. And so he would start work before 8 a.m. and he wouldn't get home until after 2 a.m.
Wow.
And he did this for years. And so my parents, they didn't, there was nobody.
Jayson, excuse me, how many children were in your family? Were you,
Two,
you were in an older child?
Yeah, just myself and my older sister.
And the age gap?
She's a year older than me.
Okay, so at least you had each other.
Oh yeah, we literally had to raise each other, and that teaches you a lot, especially from a very early age. Children have a much higher degree of neuroplasticity than adults do, and which is why it's so advantageous to learn a new language at such a young age.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so we really learned how to get by, and there was no silver spoons in our home. We barely made ends meet. But I'll tell you, the one thing I'll never forget that my father taught me, I'll never forget this. I can close my eyes. I can see it. I remember during the summer, our friends they would ride around on their BMX pedal bikes. And
I'm getting a lot of transportation knowledge today.
I wanted to have one of these bicycles like so badly because all my friends had one.
Yeah.
And I said to my dad, I really want one of these bikes. And he said, I want you to go to the front window and look outside and tell me what your friends are doing with their bikes. And sure enough, they were jumping over, wooden ramps and just dropping their bikes on the pavement. And he said, do you see how they're treating those bikes? And I said, yeah. He said, I want you to look up and down the street. If you really want one of those bicycles, there's a lawnmower in the shed. Get the lawnmower out, start knocking on doors, and go and earn the money to buy it. Because I promise you, as sure as you're standing there, you'll be out there spit shining your bike every single day while your friends are treating it like someone else bought it for them. And he told me, to always appreciate the value of a dollar, and that the surefire way to gain that appreciation was to work for it. And I've never forgotten that. But I didn't realize.
Did you go do that?
Yeah, I did. Absolutely.
How long did it take you to get your bike?
Oh gosh, it took me more than the summer. I didn't get it that summer.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll tell you, I really did appreciate it when I did.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that was the work ethic, that my father instilled in me. And even though he was away so much, and he had a ferocious temper, he really didn't like to talk much, other than to just give you coaching or wisdom, if you will.
Was that difficult for you to have him be nonverbal other than when he was upset?
Yeah, extremely.
Yeah,
extremely. And when I had the opportunity in my early 20s to relocate to Western Canada, so when I graduated from college, I was recruited by Staples Business Depot, which in the United States as Staples, the office superstore. And we were opening about 26 new stores a year at that time. So we were expanding rapidly in Canada.
I don't. Are you a Canadian? Was it a Canadian? Is it a Canadian company?
No, actually, no. So just for trivia, so Staples purchased a controlling interest in the Business Depot in Canada. And that's how it became Staples, the Business Depot.
Oh, that might help me on Jeopardy tonight. I hope.
Yeah.
So.
No, that was trivia, right? But it is.
I love it.
It is an amazing business story. Tom Stenberg and how he grew that company. It's just remarkable. And
I don't know that story. Can you tell us a little bit?
Yeah. So he, in coming up with the vision for this business, he had to print some documents. He had been fired from a job that he had, and he was printing a resume, but he ran out of ink, and it was late.
His resume, I take it.
Yeah, it was late in the evening. And so he
ran out of ink.
He didn't have anywhere to go to buy it. So he thought to himself, there needs to be a retailer that has this ink cartridge available at this time of night. And it's amazing what happens, right? Those moments of serendipity.
There's a gap, fill the need.
A light bulb went off and poof, fast forward to many years later, and Staples became one of the most profitable international office supply retailers in the world.
It's literally around the corner from where I'm sitting. Literally.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And,
huge.
I had the opportunity in working with that organization in a variety of leadership capacities. I was coached and mentored by some really amazing people.
Mm-hmm.
And we were a low cost operator. So I learned, the importance of making sure that you're running a business where your revenue grows at a faster rate than your OpEx does. And
phase two of what your dad taught you. Phase one was the lawnmowers. Phase two is the staples.
Yeah. I had an opportunity to relocate out west to Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. And it's a beautiful part of Canada. The Rocky Mountains are just a couple of hours away. And I fell in love with this part of the country the moment I saw it. And so I had the chance to move out west, and I did. And then a few years after my move out here, I was recruited by Dell. And so I got to lead a team of people that came to work and talked about technology all day long. And it was an incredible experience. Again, Joe Polish of the Genius Network refers to it as the domino effect. So if you think of the first domino falling with my dad's guidance, his wisdom, and then all of these dominoes falling in my journey of learning and growing and preparing me to be an entrepreneur. And
just so people know that Jayson and I met through the Genius Network.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. And what an amazing network that is. And
amazing people like you, quite frankly. But go ahead.
Thank you. Likewise. And we had the opportunity to move to the United States where I could complete an international work assignment. So I was essentially invited to partake in what Dell referred to as the Executive Leadership Mentoring Program at that time, where someone on the leadership team that reported directly to Michael Dell had to sponsor you to be a part of this Executive Leadership Mentoring Program. And you had to spend a minimum of 3 years in the program. And so it was essentially to groom you and develop you into opportunities for more leadership responsibility in the business.
So this is a formalized leadership training program.
Oh, yeah.
The real McCoy. Yeah.
And it is awesome. And so I'll share this with your listeners. I had the opportunity to go to either Salt Lake City, Phoenix, or Tampa, Florida.
Okay. So that's Utah, Arizona, or Florida. Okay.
That's right.
But for the Canadians out up there.
Yeah. And Tampa, Florida was the worst performing network. Part of the support that Dell provides to its commercial customers, Tampa was worst of breed in all the metrics that they managed. It couldn't get any worse.
Right. So there was nowhere to go but up.
Yeah. Well, however, when I contrast that with Phoenix and Salt Lake, they were two of the best performing centers in the support network. So I said, you know what? I'm going to fly to Tampa first.
Why? Why did you want to take on that challenge?
I'm getting to that.
Okay.
And so when I got to Tampa, I met with the existing leadership team. And I said, I want you to call an all hands meeting. So I want to meet with, there were about 64 team members in the center at that time. And so I got everybody together. I said, listen, it's no secret. I'm visiting here from Canada to determine whether or not this is where I want to relocate to. And moving 2 blocks away is one thing. Relocating into another country is another altogether. And I said, so look, I'm here with the task of either fixing or closing this center. So I'm going to leave the room now, and I'm going to give you all the time you need to decide which one of those 2 options you want, but you got to pick one before I leave. And I went to the security guy at the front of the contact center. And I said, hey, how do I get my hands on one of those badges with my picture on it? Because I only had a visitor badge. And he said, well, I'm not supposed to give that to anybody unless they're actually employed here at the center. I said, trust me, if this works, you'll know why. If it doesn't, I'll give it back to you at the end of the day before I fly out. So he says, okay, come with me. So we get a picture badge done, and I stick it into my pocket. And then one of the leaders comes out and says, okay, we're ready to talk to you again. So I came back in the room.
How much time had passed?
Oh gosh, not long, about 20 minutes. Not long
ago. Wow.
And so I came back in the room and I said, so what's it going to be? And everybody said, We want to fix it. So I took the visitor badge off. I dropped it on the floor. I took my picture badge out, clipped it to my belt, and I said, this is where I'm going to be.
Game on.
Okay. So everybody just clapped and cheered. It was an amazing moment. They're like, yeah, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. I said, you've got my full unconditional support. I'm going to take the hill with you. I'm going to be right there alongside you. If you fall, I'll pick you up. Jayson, if I fall, you pick me up.
I have to interrupt you because this is a podcast that talks about the power of relationships.
Yeah.
Right. So tell the listeners why you just did what you said you did. It was brilliant. And even though you had gone through 3 years of training, and there's absolutely something innate about you as a person that loves people, that connects, that resonates with them, help the listeners be able to duplicate what you just did by giving them some type of a template or blueprint for whatever they're doing, whatever their business.
Well, two things. One, you've got to see the people, and then you have to trust your instincts. And, when I met with some of the leaders, I knew that I could believe in them. Mm-hmm. And I wanted the challenge. I didn't want the best performing center. That wasn't going to challenge me.
Right.
I knew that I had the right people, for the most part, the people that I had interacted with. But I also knew that there was way more potential. I could see it, and I knew exactly how to draw it out. And when I met with the site leader, I said, I got to call my boss, because I got to tell my boss that I'm not going to Salt Lake and I'm not going to Phoenix. So I called my boss, and so Robert picked up the phone, and I said, hey, I've made my decision. I'm staying in Tampa. He said, you haven't even been there a day yet. How could you make that decision? And you're supposed to be heading to Salt Lake and to Phoenix to meet with the teams there. Why now? Why the decision? And I explained to him what I shared with you. And he said, you passed the test, and he hung up on me. And so we took that center in less than 2 years, from the worst performing center in the entire line of business to the best performing center across all metrics. And our team grew from 64 people to more than 700.
Okay. So what were three concrete things that you did that accounts for that skyrocketing growth?
I really helped paint the picture of what accountability looks like. People pay lip service to that word. Mm-hmm. And, you can't ever succeed as a team in a leadership capacity, in a coaching capacity, unless you love your players. Mm-hmm. And I loved my players.
Having said that, there must have been some players that you showed the door to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that difficult?
No, my responsibility is to make sure that, for a lack of better description, that I put the best team on the field to win. And if you're not showing up to practice, if you're not buying into the playbook, because there's no individual playbook, it's only a team playbook. Mm-hmm. And so if you're here asking what we're going to do for you versus what you're going to do for your teammates, don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out.
I think that takeaway is awesome for listeners. If you hear people constantly coming to you, what about me? Yep. Right? There's no I in team.
Yeah.
Okay. So the accountability.
Yeah.
Number two.
And number two is I told them all, we're either going to win or we're going to learn together.
Sometimes you win, sometimes you learn.
And I only came here to win. And so if anybody doesn't want to win, now's your chance to push the eject button and poof.
No harm, no foul. Adios.
Absolutely. But I'm telling you, as sure as we're all standing here, if you say you're with me, you need to understand what that commitment means. Mm-hmm. We are going to play to win for each other. And so if you have an agenda and it doesn't prioritize team, you won't fit in here. You're going to stand out like a sore thumb really, really quick.
Actually, I think you fouled them out.
And I'll tell you, I'll share this with you. I got some great stories. I hope it's okay if I share them with your listeners.
Please.
We haven't even gotten to the entrepreneur part yet. But I got to tell you,
though.
I got to tell you this. So this was a contact center where people were Just
I
like
thought you were
know.
going to say this is a contact sport.
No. So they're on the phones talking to some very large customers and providing them with resolution support to technical problems that they're having. So the very first day that I was on site to actually get to work and get to winning, I walked out picked a random team out on the floor. I took my headphones and I said, hey, I'm just here to hijack. That's what the technical term is. You can plug into a call and just listen to calls. Well, everybody's staring at me like I just landed from planet Mars. And so these folks are asking me, how do you do that? How do you hijack? I'm not sure how to do that. So I said, hey, let me show you. So I plug in, I start listening to calls. And I'm purposely catching people doing things right. And I'm immediately coaching when I identify something that's going to impact the customer's experience.
But I love what you said. I'm catching people doing something right.
Absolutely.
Right.
And then
noted, folks.
I would always ask after getting off a few calls, I would say, Patty, how often is your team leader sitting in on listening to calls with you? And they're like, I didn't even know you could do that.
Yeah. Undercover boss. That's about it.
Oh my God. So I met with the team leaders and I said, listen, if we're worst of breed in every metric, okay, and you know that we're worst of breed in every metric, tell me what you think needs to be fixed. And so I started hearing all of the levers of, my dad used to say to me, excuses don't explain and explanations don't excuse. So don't bother with either one of them.
Excuses don't explain and explanations don't excuse. Love it.
So I shared the very same thing with my teammates. And after I heard all the excuses and explanations, I asked, how do you know you're right? How do you know you're right?
Dead silence?
Crickets.
Crickets, yeah.
So I've spent hours listening to calls, and we have a quality control team here that are listening to calls all day long. And the people who should most importantly be listening to calls, all of you, aren't. How soon do you want to fix that? And what do you think the impact is going to be? If we continually catch people doing things right and we recognize them for it, shockingly, they're going to keep doing those things right because they know they're right. And for the things that they're not doing right, we've got a playbook. If they're not running the play and they're not running it properly, and you know that they've got the skill set to do it, then for heaven's sakes, coach them.
Get the team in a huddle.
Show them how to do it. Show them what done right looks like. And let them know that you will never accept any deviation from the standard, ever. Because when somebody deviates, even just slightly from a standard, the next deviation gets easier. The one after that gets easier. The one after that gets easier, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so many other stories I could share, but I'll tell you, when you're a coach and you really truly want to see your team win, you got to love your players. And sometimes love means you know when to kick and you know when to hug.
Tough love.
And believe you me, when, again, for lack of better description or analogy, when I step out onto the field, I'm the first one there. I'm the last one to go. And I want to catch you doing things right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And your teammates want to catch you doing things right.
Would you say that was critical to the success of the store, just listening in on the calls? Or was that just one of many?
Yeah, that was, demonstrating to our teammates that we care enough to provide you with feedback. My God.
Feedback is a gift. Feedback is a gift.
And in terms of accountability, you can either lean into it or you can buck against it. If you lean into it, you're going to get better. If you buck against it, you're not going to make progress.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a signal to me that it's not just in the work environment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that, again, you're setting standards, you're establishing standards, you're helping people win, achieve victories. You're there to help them through the setbacks and the obstacles by reminding them of what victory feels like.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And you never, ever leave anybody behind or let anybody down. And you lead by example. And there's no job that's beneath you. And for me, that's just really just part of, I don't know how to coach or mentor or lead any other way.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know how. I don't know how. I've just got this ambition and perseverance and grit. And I promise you, you're going to get better if you believe that you can as much as I believe you can.
And that's key, because
Isn't
some
that good?
people don't
And
believe in themselves as
I'll
much
tell
as
you, when we got pregnant with our firstborn, my wife, Rebecca, and I, so we're living in Tampa, Florida, beautiful community. We still have many dear friends there, amazing place to live and work. And we got pregnant with our firstborn. And my wife was working at the Moffitt Cancer Center. She was a nurse here in Canada,
Mm-hmm.
and then was hired by the Moffitt Cancer Center. And she said, I want to move back to Canada. I want to be closer to my sister, because she was pregnant with her third child at that time.
Her sister or your wife?
Her sister.
Her sister. Okay.
And so we were pregnant with our firstborn.
Gotcha.
And I said, okay, let's move back to Canada. And there wasn't an opportunity with Dell back in Canada for me. So I decided at that time, I sat down with Rebecca and I said, look, if I'm going to take this progressive step forward and become an entrepreneur, I got to do it now. And she told me, I'll never forget it. She said, you've got my unconditional support.
Okay. I think, Jayson, though, there's a gap you need to fill in, because you went from leading your team to becoming an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
What made you shift from being so successful in leadership in a corporation to wanting to become an entrepreneur?
When I got back to Canada, I don't know. I had this urge. I just had this urge to build something from nothing and to really test myself. I believed that I could do it. And so I thought to myself, listen, if you can look at a bunch of teammates and tell them that you're going to help them achieve their potential, provided they believe in it as much as you see it,
Mm-hmm.
then for heaven's sakes, lead by example.
Yeah.
And so I talked to Rebecca and she said, hey, you've got my unconditional support. And so that's where my entrepreneurial journey began. And I'll never forget my first year as an entrepreneur.
And now, what was your business? Tell everybody what your business was.
Oh yeah, for sure. So I've always loved finance. I've loved numbers. I'm very, I don't know. I'm just very fascinated by it. And so I was investing in real estate at the time, and a fellow who was selling properties in the development that I was investing in, he said, hey, I really think you should meet this guy who's also an investor in these units. And you guys are always talking about finance. You're always talking about financial planning and all this other stuff. He's like, you guys should get together and meet each other. So we did. And I asked him, I said, hey, what are you doing? What business are you in? And he said, well, I'm a financial planner, but one of our core businesses is debt counseling. And we meet with families that are really struggling financially, and we help them through that part of their lives and get them on a better path forward and a new beginning. And that resonated with me immediately, because it brought me back to those childhood memories of when my mom and dad were fighting about money all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And they ended up separating. And the primary cause of that was financial problems. And they had nobody to lead them through that, or to mentor them or coach them through it. So I said, this is what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where I began my journey as an entrepreneur. I became a registered insolvency counselor. I was meeting with families every single day. Broke my heart when I saw young children present in those meetings. You could just see the look on their faces. It took me back to that time when I was a toddler, and it broke my heart. And
Jayson, I think that the second best-selling book I wrote is titled "Money Can Buy You Happiness."
Mm.
And it's from the happiness perspective of it gives you choices and opportunities that are otherwise closed to you. And one or two reasons why couples get divorced, it's either sex or money, depending upon the research you do at the moment, because, love does not pay the rent. And right. I am so passionate about, especially for women, teaching them to empower them with money, because there's nothing sexy about being poor.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
right?
It's very true. Yeah, money doesn't buy you happiness, but poverty doesn't buy you anything at all.
Either, right?
Believe me.
Right. And the stress attached to not having money. Anyway.
For sure.
Yeah.
But, I'll tell you, that first year, when I looked back at the end of that first year, after all expenses were paid, my net income after providing for my family, keeping a roof over our head, was a whopping $186.
Wow. And
there were many times those first few years when we would look around the house for money. So Rebecca and I could order a pizza, and that was the best tasting pizza ever. There's never been pizza like it since. And
back to the lawnmower.
Yeah. And almost, we loved it. And we still talk about it to this day. And, I met my mentor, the late R. Nelson Nash, in a few years after I began my journey as an entrepreneur. And I was blessed beyond the definition of good fortune to be mentored by him until he passed in March of 2019.
Would you say he was the most influential mentor in your career?
Hands down.
Because I know you've had many. Okay.
Hands down. And I actually commissioned a documentary on him. It's available for the world to see. There's no cost to view it. Your listeners can view it at This Is Nelson Nash is the name of the film. And viewers, listeners can watch it on YouTube, or just go to the website, nelsonnashfilm.com. That's nelsonnashfilm.com. It's a 1-hour documentary, and it'll give you a deeper glimpse into the essence of just how incredible this man was. And I was blessed beyond the definition of good fortune to have crossed paths with him. And I don't believe it was a coincidence. And, both my parents, I know I'm kind of jumping around a little bit here.
Okay, I'm following.
Both my parents passed away, suddenly and unexpectedly. My father shortly after I moved out west, and then my mom a few short years later. And so having Nelson in my life was, I owe him a debt of gratitude that I can never repay. And, he really had such a remarkable impact on me professionally and personally. And, fast forward to today.
Well, hang on. Can you share one pearl of wisdom that he shared with you that has made such a difference for you?
Absolutely. He often said that there's no such thing as having arrived in knowledge. There's always something new to learn. If you feel that you've arrived, meaning you've learned everything there is to know and there isn't anything new that someone can teach you, then you've lost your inspiration to receive something new, and it's all downhill from here.
It's a little crazy, quite frankly. If you think that there's nothing new to learn, you're nuts.
And, I had so many amazing, times and moments with him. And he developed the process of becoming your own banker, the infinite banking concept. He wrote the book titled Becoming Your Own Banker, Building Your Warehouse of Wealth, The Case for IBC. His book.
And the IBC stands for?
Infinite Banking Concepts.
Okay.
And the first book he wrote titled Becoming Your Own Banker, it sold more than 500,000 copies, and it's self-published.
Before people self-published.
And there's a reason, because the process works. And this is what we've been specializing in. But we now have a group of companies. I'm a self-confessed workaholic. It's a publicly society accepted addiction. And, I did take a 6-week sabbatical this year, the longest I've ever been away from work since I was a fetus.
Actually, that's right, because I got caught up in that 6-week sabbatical trying to schedule you. So I'm very lucky that you've reemerged.
Yes, absolutely. And it's one of the best things I've ever done.
That embryonic stage, the full gestation.
Yeah, for sure. And so, I can't emphasize relationship, the value in relationship. What I can say is that, trust really does matter. In so many relationships, you've got people who, they maybe present themselves one way, and then through their behavior, they demonstrate something altogether different.
Mm-hmm.
And so you really just have to be your authentic self. You can't ever become the best version of anyone else. Just be your authentic self, and the people that should be around you will be, and those who shouldn't won't be. And if you focus on what I talk about if I do a talk or a keynote, or I always talk about making deposits into a relationship before requesting a withdrawal.
Mm-hmm.
You should be a depositor. And when you start there and you build from there, when you request a withdrawal, you've got all the trust, the respect, the relationship is in place, and it just feels right.
And let me just add to that, right? As someone that, all of my work about relationships, business and personal, it's all predicated upon trust, because without trust, you can't have a relationship. And of course, as a banker, a financial guy, and I've heard other people talk about making deposits, right? I would never talk that way. But what I call it is creating goodwill. But here's the caveat that's so important: without a hidden agenda.
There you go.
You are just making the deposit time after time after time because it's the right thing to do. And
Absolutely.
It's simple, but unfortunately, if you look at the world today, it's not all that commonplace, and it's not that easy. And if you believe, though, in goodwill, and I'm a scientist at heart, but there's karma, you keep putting into somebody, that person might not ever be in a position for you to withdraw from, but somebody else will.
Totally.
And it might come from the most unexpected person, place, or time.
Absolutely.
So and for your work to differentiate yourself, because you're in a very, very competitive, crowded space. So how do you use your relationship skills and your trust to win?
That's such a great question. I'll tell you, I talk to my teammates about this all the time. If we focus on what the clients we have and the clients we want to have truly value, and we provide it again and again and again, and we're continually working on impressing them,
mm-hmm.
I don't worry about what the competition's doing.
So it's authenticity with consistency. And it reminds me of John Wooden, the former UCLA basketball coach.
You're the third person who said that to me in less than a week.
Wow. Well, John Wooden, right? Right.
Oh, yeah.
He always said, now this was before all the, ad nauseum recruiting filming. He said, I wish I could do his accent, right? I teach the fundamentals. I don't worry about anything else. So for you, the fundamentals are developing trust, authenticity, being genuine, and being consistent. And
focusing on what the clients you have and the clients you want to have truly value, and providing it to them.
Competency. You still got to be good.
And how do you find out what they truly value? You ask them, for heaven's sakes. People are
careers. Listen.
People are laying awake at night, right? Entrepreneurs, they're laying awake at night going, what are my competitors doing? Oh my God, what are they doing? And somebody should, in a coaching capacity, should say, listen, get your butt out of bed. And what we're going to get you focused on is what the clients you have and the customers you want to have truly value. We're going to go and find that out, and then we're going to deliver it to them. We're going to deliver it faster, bigger, better, cheaper, however you want to characterize that. You don't have to own the ocean to swim in the damn thing. So quit worrying about what your competitors are doing. Competition is great. I mean, it forces you to innovate. It forces you to, but if you're approaching it from a sense of envy, you're poisoning yourself, and by proxy, all of your teammates that rely upon you for your coaching and mentoring and leadership. So
then you come into it from a place of scarcity.
Leave the poison at the door Focus on delivering what your customers that you have and the customers you want to have truly value. I promise you, you're going to feel like there's a fear of, what are my competitors doing? Oh my God, are they going to surpass me? Are they going to? No, you show up with your uniqueness and define what winning means for your teammates. Define what winning means for your teammates. And I'll tell you, collectively, it's all of your customers that is what's going to make your teammates so amazing or so unamazing
or not. Yeah.
And so that for us, that's the approach that we take. And it's not just in Ascendant Financial, which is, one of our flagship businesses. It's in we're in the e-commerce space within, share with your listeners. So with the Lowe family group of companies, we have Ascendant Financial. So that's ascendantfinancial.ca. That's one of our flagship businesses. We specialize in the process of becoming your own banker, the infinite banking concept. We're in the e-commerce space. So we pack, prep, and ship for Amazon resellers, fulfillment by Amazon, fulfillment by merchant. We have a pack and prep facility in Western Canada and in Central Canada to take care of that amazing business. Great team, great leadership in place. We just took an ownership interest in YouTube Era, YT Era, which is a YouTube agency that's helping entrepreneurs expand their presence on YouTube to attract more customers who are out there learning on the YouTubes.
Yes, and congratulations, because that's a new one, right?
Yeah. We just
that's hot off the press.
We just finished that deal yesterday. We got it done.
Mm-hmm.
And the key to a successful negotiation is when you leave something on the table.
Right. That's right.
And
that's right.
when I shake your hand and you tell me, man, you got a firm handshake, it matters.
Of course. And
with that deal began months ago with a handshake.
Well, otherwise you might win the battle and lose the war.
Yeah. And, for me, this group of companies, the people that go and do the great work every single day, and I'm charged with the responsibility of leading. And I take that responsibility very seriously. I'm responsible for attracting the right who's, great talent to put the best players on the field to win the game. That's my job. And I set the vision and I help my teammates develop the game plan. And then we go and get it done. Yeah, we're going to stub our toe. We're going to trip. We're going to fall down. But I'll tell you, we have some pretty awesome, perseverant, ambitious, determined teammates, and I'm excited to watch them play this game of business.
You wouldn't have it. You wouldn't have it any other way.
I can promise you.
I feel like I could go on forever, and I don't want to take up that much more of your time, but I do have a question I'd like to ask you.
Shoot.
Which is, what is a major misconception people have about you that you'd prefer not to correct?
Oh my goodness. That I'm that serious in my, my leadership style. I have a sense of humor too. I can laugh at myself and I can enjoy, a good chuckle at my expense.
I mean, people think you're intense.
No, they don't think I'm intense. They just think that, I'm intense when I'm in, they call it business Jayson. Oh, you're in business Jayson mode.
As opposed to
the family man, funny guy mode.
But if you're a workaholic, that means you're in the business Jayson mode more often than not.
Yeah, that's true. And, I'm working on it. I really, truly am.
I think we have to get your wife on the line. She'll clarify this for us.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'll tell you, I could not extend the amount of credit to Rebecca that she richly deserves. Mm-hmm. She is an amazing, amazing, amazing human being. And what I love most I think about Rebecca, there are so many things, but I think what I love most is that she chooses me. She doesn't need me.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
She chooses me. And
Well,
there's a difference.
Well, there's a huge difference. What I tell people all the time is that a partner, this is true in business and in romantic relationships, a partner should complement you, not complete you.
Yeah.
Right. So you have the integrator, the visionary. But I will say, I mean, I work with entrepreneurs in a business partnership capacity and with entrepreneurs that are in a romantic relationship, because there are different issues that come up if you're involved with an entrepreneur or if you are an entrepreneur, as you well know.
Absolutely. And, I say this, and I mean it with all sincerity. And I mentioned this to Rebecca yesterday. It was her birthday yesterday, and it's our anniversary on Wednesday, tomorrow.
Happy anniversary and happy belated birthday to your wife.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I will pass that along. I promise you.
How many years? How many years tomorrow?
We've been together 15 years.
15.
And
awesome.
I say to Rebecca every year that I wish I could have met her sooner so I could love her longer. And she says to me every year the same thing. She said, we met at just the right time for us.
Yeah, you wouldn't have been ready for whatever reason to have received her.
And so she's really, truly is amazing. She's got 5 full-time jobs. She, like our 4 children they're growing into remarkable human beings. And, I cannot extend enough credit to Rebecca. She really, truly is amazing. And, I love her more every single day.
So she's the wind beneath your wings. It sounds like. That's awesome to hear. And
she's the person standing right next to me, shaking her head.
Is she there? Is she there? Tell her. I was going to say, how to do a photo bomb.
She's, she really, truly is incredible.
Great. All right. My last question before I ask people how they can learn more about you is,
sure.
If you could be the lead role, if you could have the lead role in any play ever, who would you want to play and why?
Oh boy.
Yeah, I stay up at night thinking of these questions.
Oh gosh. I would say, and I'm not sure if this is a play or not, but the film We Are Marshall.
Oh, awesome.
If I could have played the lead role in that.
Was that the coach?
Yeah.
Or the coach?
Yeah. And I would have jumped at that opportunity in a heartbeat. And because I would have recognized the challenge and what it represented. And I would have been there for those players who needed someone to be there for them and who could love them and help lead them through a traumatizing, life-changing experience and help lead them to victory.
Wow, that's great. For the listeners that aren't familiar with We Are Marshall, just check it out. It's an amazing movie. And if you don't like football or you don't like sports, it is an amazing movie on overcoming adversity and tragedy and character building. Yep. So if we've learned nothing else about you today, Jayson, we have learned, I'm thinking of I'll date myself, my childhood character, underdog, because if there's anything we learned about you is that you love the underdog.
All day long.
Right? All right. How can people find out more about you before I let you go?
Well, people can visit with me at ascendantfinancial.ca.
Which I encourage.
And I love to hear from listeners. So please don't hesitate to connect with me on the ascendantfinancial.ca webpage. You can click the button that reads Meet Our Team, and you'll find me there right alongside my teammates. And you can just click through there and connect with me. I'd love to hear from you. I'm on the Facebooks and the LinkedIns and the YouTubes. And so if you go to the Facebooks and just look up Jayson Lowe, JaysonLowe, you'll see me and connect with me. I'd love to do that. And then on the YouTubes, you can hit the Wealth Without Bay Street YouTube channel, which is our podcast. Isn't that good?
That's great. So, Jayson, Thank you so much. I hope everybody listening agrees that Jayson delivered and took us for a ride. And remember, like, subscribe, comment, and share. And we'll see you next time on The Trust Doctor, restoring trust and enriching significant relationships in your life. Bye.
Once again, we've concluded another great episode of The Trust Doctor with Dr. Patty Ann. Tune in next week for more insights and advice on how you can create, nurture, and sustain healthy relationships. To find out more about the podcast, visit drpattyann.com/podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, review, and share. Until next time.